Hi, third grade. I hope you're well. No Google Meet today, just a video and a short activity to do. So, kind of continuing what we're doing in the previous class. So, in class, in the Google Meet, we were using cations and anions and we were putting them together to make compounds. And a compound usually has a cation and an anion together. So we're just going to continue that a little bit, but essentially what we're going to do today is learn how to name compounds. Because when we put some like two ions together to make a compound, the name has a slight variation. So we're going to look at that in more detail. Let's go. So today we're naming compounds. Just to repeat, compound is compuesta. A compound is when you have two or more ions that are together and they make a new molecule. So these are atoms, okay? And they are the symbols for the atoms. So here we've got copper, fluorine, selenium, sodium, calcium, iron, magnesium, zinc, and chromium. So these are separate atoms, but what happens when they join together? Well, these are compounds. So maybe a really common compound you know is salt, the salt you have on your food. But salt, the symbol is NaCl because you have two ions here, a sodium ion and a chlorine ion. This particular compound is called magnesium nitride. This is lithium oxide. This is potassium hydroxide. And this is boron sulfide, okay? And they all look quite different because they're just different ways to say molecules, okay? Here we've just got a picture. These two, we've got something called atomic structure. Here we've just got formula, and here we've just got ionic formula. So they're just different ways to write compounds. So when writing the name of a compound with two elements, we have to change the name of the anion, okay? And remember, the anion is negative. So oxygen becomes oxide, okay? So here we have two ions. We've got magnesium and we've got oxygen. So rather than say magnesium oxygen, we need to change oxygen to oxide, okay? The cation usually comes first, and then we say the name of the anion. So instead of saying magnesium oxygen, that would be two separate elements. When they join together, we say magnesium oxide, okay? That's a new product, magnesium oxygen. When magnesium and oxygen, they react together to form a new compound. Chlorine becomes chloride. So again, very, very similar rule. If a compound with two elements and one of those elements is chlorine, then it becomes cation chloride. Just wanted to let you know here, though there are four atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, there are only two elements, aluminium and chlorine. So we call this aluminium chloride. We don't say aluminium chlorine, we need to change the anion, so aluminium chloride. Similar pattern again. If we have phosphorus, we need to change that to phosphide. So what do you think this one would be? Ca, calcium phosphide, okay? Calcium phosphide. Again, we've got a similar rule here. Sulfur becomes sulfide, okay? Because this is a compound with two elements, we just change the name of the anion. The name of the cation doesn't change, okay? So that's how I say cation sulfide. This would be obviously sodium sulfide. So now we're going to look at a little change. So here is when sulfur becomes sulfate. Before it was sulfide, but now it's sulfate. What is the difference? This thing, oxygen, okay? When you have oxygen and the anion in question, we have another small change. Now, a compound with three or more elements, and one of those elements is sulfur and another is oxygen, is usually called cation sulfate. So here we've got three elements, potassium, sulfur, oxygen. So as before, we only had 2 elements, and we say sulfide. When we have 3 elements and 1 is oxygen, we say sulfate. And this is a similar rule for other compounds. So carbon becomes carbonate. You've got your cation, you've got carbon, and you've got oxygen. Carbonate. So this will be beryllium carbonate. Another one, nitrogen becomes nitrate, okay? Remember, this kind of 8 is when you have oxygen and the anion. If it was only the anion, if it was only AgN, that would be silver nitride. But because there is oxygen, silver nitrate. Okay? This is one more I just want to look at today. This one's a little bit different. So whenever you have a cation which reacts with oxygen, and that oxygen reacts with hydrogen, we call this new product hydroxide, okay? So the cation, which here will be sodium, bonds with oxygen, and then this oxygen is bonding with 2 things, reacting with 2 things, the sodium and a hydrogen, okay? We call this hydroxide. Hydroxide will always be OH. Whenever you see OH, that means hydroxide, okay? So this will be sodium hydroxide. So this is what I'd like you to do today, guys, naming some compounds. Now, here you can see lots of formula, okay? Don't worry about the numbers, okay? The numbers, don't worry. The numbers do not affect the name. The numbers are important. They tell you how many atoms, and we're going to look at that in the future. But the numbers do not affect the name. Now, all of them have the cation name magnesium. So all of these have 2 words, okay? And the first word of all of these is magnesium. But what is the name of the second word for each one of these, okay? Obviously here we've got magnesium and we've got chlorine, so that would be magnesium chloride. Now, some of these I haven't shown you examples of. However, hopefully you can use the rules in this video to try and estimate what their name could be. Remember, if it has like oxygen here, or here, or here, it might be something with 8. And if there's no oxygen, like here, 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 it would be something with "ide." The only exception would be here, which was the final example, is a little bit different. Remember, OH is a little bit different. You can do this in your notebook, or I guess you could do it in a Google Docs or a private comment in Classroom. Maybe you want to take a screenshot of this and then you can edit the picture. That would work quite well, but it's your choice how you submit it. I'll be online. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you soon. Take care, 3rd grade. Bye-bye.